Crow laws were a very prominent aspect of a major part of U.S. history that still affects African American people today.
These laws were established after the Reconstruction part of the Civil War. The Northern soldiers left the South in order to let them recreate their own government as Reconstruction came to an end.
Unfortunately, the South still raged with hatred towards anyone who wasn't white, and these social laws were made to create separate but equal facilities. These separations were supposed to be equal, but in reality were far from it.
The segregation of African Americans was established by a white performer, Thomas Rice, who had a show in which he painted his face black, danced around, and sang tribal songs, which made the show very derogatory towards African American people.
This show was called Jump Jim Crow, and its popularity was shown when the list of laws was named after.
The main point of the laws was to withhold all African American rights without reverting back to slavery completely, and it worked very well.
According to the Jim Crow laws, African American people had to have different schools, transportation, lodging, public parks, theaters, hospitals, neighborhoods, cemeteries, water fountains, restrooms, waiting rooms, store entrances, billiard rooms, and bus stops.
Cases such as Plessy versus Ferguson solidified the Jim Crow laws by adding bans on interracial marriages, enacting literacy tests for African Americans who wanted to vote, and adding a fine for those who couldn't pass the test.
By the 1850s, every former Confederate state had laws prohibiting African Americans and Caucasians from being together. Lynching became very widely known in the South when African Americans tried to speak out against these unfair laws that were out upon them.
The Jim Crow laws finally began losing power in the 1940s when the case, Brown versus the Board of Education, made it all the way to the Supreme Court, and it won in favor of integrating schools.
Also in the 1960s, the United States passed legislation such as the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and the Fair Housing Act, which made social segregation much less well known.
The ideas shown in the Jim Crow laws, such as separate but equal, are very evident in the novel To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, and the several scenes depicted in the book show how evident the Jim Crow laws were in the South.
In the trial scene of the book, Atticus tries his hardest to get the men of the jury to realize that Tom Robinson is not guilty simply because of the fact that he is an African American. He tells them that under the court, all men are created equal, and there is no evidence supporting the idea that Tom Robinson committed any sort of crime.
Sadly, though, the men of Macomb County who are part of the jury are unable to look past Tom Robinson's outer appearance and find him guilty simply because of the color of his skin.
The idea that people are less because of the color of their skin is what drove the Jim Crow laws to be so powerful during the Civil Rights Movement, and these laws will always be remembered in the history of our country.